In the series finale, we found out what happened after Harrow shot Mark. He grabs the Ushabti and then places the scarab on Mark's dead body. Now that he has the Ushabti, he just needs to go to the Great Pyramid and open it up. He's got company though. Layla was hiding the whole time. She was able to avoid Harrow's men and see Mark's body, but she also saw the scarab, picked it up, and it helped guide her over to Harrow and his men. So she ends up tagging along, pretending to be one of Harrow's followers. Harrow's men are trying to make their way to the Great Pyramids when they're stopped by a police checkpoint, but Harrow's not concerned at all. Now that he has that kind of power, mortals with guns don't concern him one bit. He shows it off, and just about every one of the police officers isn't worthy. They immediately die. There is only one good man amongst the group, and he is spared. But after this display of power, Layla gets ready to make her move. She pulls a knife out and is ready to sneak up on Harrow and stab him, when one of the dead bodies of a police officer starts talking to her. And it's the goddess Taweret talking through this corpse. Taweret explains that it's Mark who wants her to stop. Right now, Harrow is simply too powerful. In order to get rid of Harrow, they're gonna need Khonshu. So Taweret tells her to break his Ushabti. It's currently sitting in the Chamber of the Gods, which happens to be exactly where Harrow's headed. Taweret also suggests that maybe Layla can be her avatar because Mark said so many wonderful things about her. But they don't really get to discuss it because Harrow and his men pack up and get ready to go to the Chamber of the Gods. They arrive and break it open, and the rest of the avatars that are supposed to protect it are blown away that somebody is trying to release Ammit, even though they were warned about it. But because of the warning, they have a pretty good idea that Harrow is going to walk through the doors. And sure enough, he does. Harrow tries to get the rest of the avatars to stand down. They don't. And unfortunately for them, Harrow is just too powerful for them. While Harrow is taking care of the other avatars, Layla sneaks around and looks for Khonshu's Ushabti. She's able to find it and open it up. The first thing that Khonshu notices is that Mark Spector no longer belongs to this world. And Layla says, yeah, that's because of you. Khonshu explains that if Mark is gone, he's going to need an avatar, and he wants Layla to take that over. But after what he did to Mark, she has no interest in that. Khonshu starts pitching her on the fact that she's going to need a plan, she's going to need him, and she says, no, Mark didn't trust you, and I don't trust you. We can work together, but I'm not enslaving myself to you. He explains that what they have to do is rebind Ammit, and only an avatar can do it. But Layla once again says, no, I'm not going to be your avatar. And that's when Khonshu disappears. As Layla was releasing Khonshu, Harrow was releasing Ammit. Ammit is in the shape of a crocodile. And as soon as she shows up, Harrow and his men get down to one knee and tell her that they're there to serve her. She tells Harrow that his scales lack balance. And while he thought that by freeing her, that would help his case, he understands if she has to kill him. She tells him that his scales lack balance because of what lies ahead. And even though he is going to die, for the time being, she's going to keep him alive because he is the avatar that she needs at this moment. Ammit, Harrow, Harrow's men all get ready to leave the Chamber of the Gods and go purify the souls of Cairo and the rest of the world when Khonshu swoops in. Khonshu explains to Ammit that he can't let her do what she's about to do. While they agree that evil is wrong, he wants to judge it after the fact and she thinks that's stupid. Eventually, this conversation leads to the two fighting. But as they're fighting, in the afterlife, Mark Spector finds himself in the reeds with Taweret. While most people would love to be in the reeds, he doesn't. He can't sit there in paradise knowing that Stephen Grant is frozen in sand, so he turns back. Taweret explains that if he does that, he can never come back, and he's all right with that. He finds Stephen in the sand frozen, and he makes a very impassioned speech, but as he's doing so, he himself is becoming more and more frozen, until finally, both Stephen and Mark are frozen together. They're not frozen very long, though. Osiris's doors open up, and the two are freed to walk back into the real world. As soon as they do, they go back into Mark Spector's body that was shot. He spits out the bullets and transforms into the Moon Knight. And Mark coming back into the real world couldn't have happened at a better time for Khonshu, because he was getting his ass kicked. He was about to die, but he felt Mark's presence, so he teleported out of there and met up with Mark right outside of Ammit's tomb. Khonshu fills Mark in on the fact that Ammit is free, and he's just not powerful enough to stop her. He needs Mark's help. But Mark and Stephen aren't going to accept the fact that Khonshu was just asking nicely. They want to negotiate their terms. With Khonshu in between a rock and a hard place, he has to agree that at the end of this, he will let them go. They then fly off to go stop Ammit and Harrow. But Layla was back in the Chamber of the Gods. She found the head avatar who somehow was still alive. She asks him, how do we stop Ammit? And he explains that the Chamber of the Gods is the most powerful place. From there, they can imprison Ammit into a mortal form, basically putting Ammit into a body instead of a statue. In a body, she'd be way more vulnerable. The problem with doing that is they're going to need more avatars than they currently have. He knows he's on death's door, and sure enough, before he can give her any more insight on how to stop Ammit, he dies. While Layla had no interest in becoming Khonshu's avatar, Taweret seemed pretty cool. She did offer it up, so while in the Chamber of the Gods, she talks to Taweret and accepts the offer. Layla will become Taweret's avatar. She needs to get the hell out of there, though, because the chamber is being destroyed by Harrow. Before he destroys all of it, he heads to the top of the pyramid and uses his staff to do Ammit's work. Every one of Ammit's followers all of a sudden brandishes a scales tattoo, and they go around Cairo judging people. Out of nowhere, you just see a flurry of souls going off into the sky and being swallowed up by Ammit. And as Ammit is eating, she's getting bigger and bigger. But as Harrow is on the top of the pyramid, in swoops Mark as the Moon Knight, and the two start going at it. As they're battling it out, Khonshu starts fighting with Ammit. So you've got Big Khonshu fighting Big Ammit, and down on the ground, you've got the Moon Knight, Mark, and Steven, along with Layla, who has become Taweret's avatar and looks like a complete badass, trying to fight off Harrow. The good guys put up a pretty good fight, but at the end of it, it looks like they're about to lose. Harrow and Ammit are just too powerful to defeat. Mark finds himself hurt on the ground and staring at Harrow, who is about to kill him. And he sees the exact same thing in the sky, but it's Ammit who's about to kill Khonshu. Harrow thrusts that staff into Mark's chest, and you see Mark's soul start to be sucked up. But then Mark blacks out, and when he wakes up, he's holding Harrow, who is unconscious, and he's got Harrow's staff to his head. He has no idea how this happened, but when he blacked out, he got out of the predicament. It wasn't Steven, it wasn't Mark, and when Layla asks, what was that? All Mark can say is, I blacked out. They don't have much more time to talk about it, though, because in the sky, they see Ammit carrying away an unconscious Khonshu. Layla tells Mark, grab Harrow. I know how to stop Ammit. And they drag Harrow's body to the Chamber of the Gods, placing him on a makeshift altar and performing a spell that is going to imprison Ammit into Harrow's body. And it works. Can't come at a better time for Khonshu, who is about to die. Ammit is sucked up and placed into Harrow. Now with Ammit in a very vulnerable position, Khonshu tells Mark, finish it. Leave neither of them alive. And Mark thinks about it, but he throws the weapon down and says, no. If you want this done, do it yourself. Now release us. Khonshu releases them, and Mark suddenly sees the Moon Knight outfit disappear from his body. But when that happens, there's a big flash of light, and he's back into Harrow's office. Not the Harrow that we just saw, though, Dr. Harrow. At first, Harrow is talking to Steven, and Steven asks, is this what reality looks like? And Dr. Harrow says, yes, the imagination is very real. But then, Steven turns into Mark. Mark starts turning back into Steven. Dr. Harrow finds himself talking to two different people. Dr. Harrow gets up and says, I guess our work here is going to continue. But when he starts walking back to his desk, he's got blood on his shoe. Dr. Harrow suddenly asks, why am I bleeding? And Steven gets up and says, yeah, I don't think you know as much as you think you do. And while it is tempting to accept your diagnosis, Doc, we'd rather go save the world. Mark and Steven suddenly wake up in Steven's bed. But Harrow, he was taken to a mental institution. He was just going to wither away there when a mysterious person shows up one day and tells the orderly, I'll take him. And as this person is escorting Harrow out of the building, Harrow notices that there's a bunch of dead bodies around. This mystery person throws Harrow into the back of a limousine, and Harrow finds himself standing across from Khonshu. Harrow's not worried, though. He tells Khonshu, you can't hurt us. And Khonshu says, yeah, that's true. You want to know something? Mark Spector truly believed that after he and I parted ways, I wanted his wife to be my avatar. I mean, why would I ever need anyone else? The fact is, he has truly no idea how troubled he really is. Khonshu then bangs on the window. It goes down, and he says to Harrow, meet my friend Jake Lockley. But Jake Lockley looks exactly like Mark Spector and Stephen Grant. And that's when Harrow starts to get really worried. Lockley turns around and says in Spanish, today is your turn to lose. Harrow starts begging for his life, but Lockley shoots him. And then the limo just goes off with the license plate that says Spectre. And that is the end of Moon Knight. Thank you so much for getting this point of the recap. I really appreciate it. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Both links are in the description. Let me know if you like this series. I did, but I'd be lying if I said I understood it all. I'm very confused right now. Looking forward to seeing what Marvel has coming up next. And once again, thank you so much for checking this out.